Hi guys, and welcome to Carflix. Today we're going to be doing some routine maintenance on the RCZ, and I'm also going to fix a couple of problems along the way. Let me show you what those problems are. Now, as you can see, my car's nearly done 140,000 miles, which is fantastic because these engines are bulletproof. Now, the problem I've been experiencing is my car for the last 5,000 miles hasn't been going up to operating temperature. It's been going to the marker just before 90, which is never good for things like fuel consumption and your catalytic converter. So what I am going to do is I'm going to change the thermostat. I'm also going to investigate a knocking sound that's developed over the last kind of 1,000 miles that's on the passenger side. So I'm going to give the wheel a bit of a wobble and see if it's a drop link or not. Then we're going to change the oil and oil filter as well. So let's get the car up in the air. Okay, so she's up in the air. I was a bit lazy because I'd repaired my jacking points. I thought they would be sufficient, and I used this method, but as you can see, even using a piece of insulation tape which supports it from both sides, they still bend. And it's the same on the other side. So while she's up in the air, I'll have to bend these out. They're so hard to jack these cars up, especially like mine that's been lowered. But anyway, we're gonna crack on. Let me show you this. I did suspect it was the drop link. Look at this. Look how loose that is. I will compare it to the other side because if the other one's just as bad. Just took the wheel off the other side as well, and this one is exactly the same. It's not as loose. I'm sure there should be a little bit more resistance than that. So this actually turned out to be a normal amount of play in an RCZ drop link. What you should be doing is ragging that drop link to see if you can hear any knocking, which I clearly couldn't on mine. However, I did change these, and I have done a video on how to change them if you need to change your drop links, but unfortunately the knocking didn't go away. I will come back to this in a future video where I did eventually find where the knocking was coming from. For now, let's get on with taking that under tray off. So now that's out of the way, I can now see the pipe here that we're going to loosen off, and we're going to let all that coolant drain. Because it has had a recent flush, I'm going to reuse all of the coolant that comes out of here. So this is quite a common thing on these cars. These get brittle and break over time. You can also see where I've lowered the car as well. When I've got some really bad bumps, she does catch very slightly, but nothing to worry about. I'm now going to take these out using one of these tools and kind of pop them out. There's 5 of these wheel arch liner clips in. Remove them all, and there's a couple around the bottom, and then fold it out of the way, which then gives you access to the battery tray bolt. I have no idea why Peugeot decided to put one bolt under the mudguard when the rest are all in the engine bay. Next, we remove the engine cover, which just pops off. Next, we remove the airbox lid cover, which is just held in by 4 screws. We then cut off the zip tie at the top of the air intake, and then pop off the airflow meter. Next, remove the K&N air filter. This is filthy, so we'll be cleaning this later. Next, remove the top fuse box cover, which is attached to the battery tray. Once that's out of the way, we can then take the top half of the battery cover off. Once both battery terminals are out of the way, we can then remove the battery clamp, and then we can move the whole battery out of the way. Next, we remove the bottom section of the battery cover, which is just held in by a few bolts. Once that's out of the way, we can then start to remove the battery tray. This was held in by quite a few bolts, but I got them off in the end. Personally, I think there's too many bolts holding this in, but then again, the battery is quite big. Next, we're going to start moving on to removing the fuel line bracket that sits directly over the top of the thermostat. Now that's removed, we can get to the thermostat itself, where we have quite a lot of annoying pipes and studs to remove. Okay, so everything's off. I managed to get these 10mm off, and then down at the bottom here there is another, like a metal prong that you pull off. I can't really record myself doing that, but I'm going to pull the prong off and then pull this off, so bear with me. Okay, so I managed to pull it off. You can actually twist it with your hands so the top of the clip is facing towards you. Now I'm trying to get the back of the sensor that looks like it's also got this clip, if you look just there. So I'm going to pull that clip off as well and see if I can pull that sensor clip off. So there's your sensor out, pull the plastic clip and it just pulled out. Now I've got to get the back of the last hose off and then this should come out. It's this bit that's being a bit of a bitch. I had to take out 2 studs using 2 4mm, which are these things, so I could slide it out sideways. And now it's a case of just wiggling it left and right to release this trumpet kind of thing here. And then it should just wiggle off, which I'm doing now. And there it is, guys, it's out. This was an absolute nightmare to get out because this is all like kind of rotted inside. You can see all the gunk that's in this, and it's also stuck as well. And there's your thermostat inside there, but absolute nightmare. You just got to keep wiggling it and wiggling it and wiggling it until it actually pops off in the end, but it is a bit of a nightmare. Okay, so that's everything back together. I've now topped the coolant back up again. Obviously that'll go down. I'll probably have to nip out and get a little bit more coolant from the shop. That is not a problem. So next I'm going to drop the oil. I'll then start to clean the K&N filter. I've now got to get to the world's most awkward oil filter, which I'm going to do now. Okay, so I managed to put the new oil filter in, and if you want to know the best tool to use, it's a 27mm ratchet spanner, because you can get right in there and you can bend it, okay? If you want to see how to do a proper oil service on this car, check out my other videos. I've got a full review on how to do that. Right, now I'm going to go back under the car and I'm going to put the nut back on, and I'll probably put all the shielding back on as well. Okay, so now it's oil time. I'm trying Valvoline for a change, so hopefully this stuff is good, because it was really good on the MX-5, so I'm hoping this will be good in this car too. And this car takes 5 litres, so I just put every drop in. And there we go. Okay, back on, back in. Next we're going to clean the filter, and here it is. This is the filter. There's your cleaner. Here's the filter oil. So the K&N recharge kit was really easy to use. All you do is spray on the degreaser, which will break down everything within the filter, doing the front and the back of it, and then after that you let it sit for about 10 minutes, and then after 10 minutes you get your water and you give it a really good rinse with a hose pipe. After that you then leave it out in natural sunlight to dry. Obviously this can depend on how cold or how warm the day is, but it needs to be completely dry before you can install it back into your car for obvious reasons. Then once fully dry, you then hit it with the oil spray. A recharge for a K&N air filter is 70,000 miles. Now unfortunately my SD card in the process decided to go corrupt, and I can't show you doing the bleed process or anything like that, but I have done a full video on how to bleed your coolant system from start to finish. Also, everything was fine after this. The temperature gauge went back up to 90 again, and everything was fine and dandy with the car. Overall, it was quite a fiddly job, but if you take your time, you can do it all yourself. Just want to say thanks ever so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.